Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We are backstage. We're taking you inside professional wrestling right now. I am with WCWO's Zae Gates. Zae, you've been all over the place.
Yeah.
You've been wrestling for how long now?
3 years.
Okay. So let's go back to the beginning.
Uh-huh.
What made you want to get involved with wrestling in the first place? Everybody wants to, but what made you go for it?
So it was a time in my life. I had already moved up here to Indianapolis. I was still in high school at that point. I joined the football team. I went to Warren Central. I played on their freshman team because I was a freshman at the time. And then while I was on the team, my grandfather ended up passing away. And my grandfather was one of the biggest inspirations to me because he was more of a father figure to me. Him and my stepdad. Well, I don't consider him my stepdad, but
right.
But yeah, so he was a big inspiration to me. So once he passed, it kind of hit me different. And we always watched wrestling, me, him, and my great grandmother. And yes, after he passed, I went to the funeral. I had to go all the way back to Mississippi. I was there for some time, and the coach was just basically, you'll always have your spot, just come back next season. But instead, it was I ended up getting in contact with this guy named Chris Doyle. He was running the promotion.
Yeah.
I guess his promotion kind of stopped running, so he was like, well, I know a place you can go.
Okay.
And he sent me here. So I came here, and that's where it all started.
I had no idea you started out with him.
Yeah, so
no idea.
Yeah, I messaged him because I remember at the time I messaged the Dub. I think this was back when Basher was alive. And he was I think at the time I was 16, so he was like, nah,
you gotta be 18.
Yeah, you gotta be 18. And then ended up texting Chris. I was 17 at the time.
Right.
He was about to trade me, but he sent me here. And then we went from there.
He's Brian Clark's brother.
Yeah, I told Brian. Yeah, I knew Brian, because Brian told me that was his brother.
It's crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't either. Not at first. I just found out 2 years in.
That's
it's it's
crazy.
my brother.
So when you started, how long after you contacted to when you got in the ring and really started training? And what was the training like compared to what you expected it to be like?
So
it's not like anybody really thinks
it's not. I knew it was physical. I knew I knew I was gonna be sore, but I didn't think it was gonna be this tough. I didn't think it was gonna be I took my first bump and I'm like, oh shit, this is real.
Yeah.
So I contacted Chris in the end of the middle or the end of July. And then
what year was this?
This was 2020.
Okay.
During the pandemic.
Okay.
And then he texted me, he was gonna set me up for classes. Well, a week later, that's when he told me he was gonna send me here.
Okay.
So I get here, and then I started August. I remember the date. It was August 9th, 2020. Is when I officially started.
Okay.
At the Dub.
Okay. Yeah. How has it been for you? And how long was your training for? How long did you train before you had your first match?
So what's crazy? I trained August. I was in the ring by November.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember we did the Halloween Battle Royal.
Yeah.
And, all the trainees and stuff, they get in there. So I didn't have an idea for a costume because I'm not really oriented when it comes to a lot of stuff.
Right.
So I'm I don't got an idea for a costume. I was like, you know what? I said, what'd be cool? What if I dress up as Dex?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And then I put on the thing. I dressed up as Dex fully. And after that, there was Little Dex.
That's right.
And that's where it started.
You're talking about Dex Royal, multiple
Yeah.
time WCWO champion,
Yeah.
all that stuff. So you were still going through your training.
Right, while I was in the ring.
Right, but you were still, even though you were going through training, you were slowly working your way onto the weekly
card.
Friday show.
Right.
How is it on your body wrestling every single week? Because a lot of local independent promotions, not just in Indiana, but all over, maybe once a month, twice a month, quarterly, you wrestle every single 52 times a year, sometimes more.
Yeah. My body at times, I'm not gonna lie, for me, because I'm only 20, so there would be times where I'll be sore, but I'll only be sore for a couple days. I'll probably...
That must be nice.
If something will happen on a Friday, I'll be sore after the show. I'll be sore Saturday. By Monday, I'm good.
Okay. I roll out of bed and I hurt. And I'm not even a wrestler.
Yeah.
So
it's still taxing, but I guess because I'm so young, it don't really tax that long.
Take me through the evolution of the Zae Gates character. Like, I don't like to ask questions. Where did you come up with your name? What's your interest in music? What's your style?
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to find that information can have access to it.
Yeah.
I like to ask the questions that people don't think of, that you guys don't get a chance to really talk about. Take me through the evolution of Zae Gates, the wrestler.
Okay, so what's crazy is after the Little Dex character, it was just like...
Talk about the Little Dex character, because there is history with the Little Dex character.
So,
like, that was a whole thing.
Yeah, it was.
That was a whole thing.
So Dex, like, he I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the stuff that I do, he kind of, like, helped me with that. Like, he was like, he kind of broke me out of my shell.
He was like your first mentor.
Yeah, like, he was the one that kind of, okay, I know you can do this, so do it. And he was just like, do this, like with the backflips. And like, I was always scared to do backflips. And they was like, I know you're athletic. I see it. So we know you can do a backflip. I'm like, bro, I can't. So it was one particular practice. It was Pops, Dex, Joey Venom, and the twins, and Jax. And it was like, for every backflip that Joey Venom does that you don't do, you get a chop from everybody. I'm like, I'm scared in the ring. Like, okay, Pops don't play no games when it comes to chops. Dex is the hard hitter.
Yeah.
Jackson Morgan is definitely a hard hitter.
I've seen him make people bleed.
Yeah.
I think he made Eric Onyx cry from a chop one. Jax.
Yeah.
One night.
I've seen in Pops. I've seen like my first show. He did. It was the first show I ever came to. Here it was. Was it at the time? His name was. Well, he went by Chris, but Kobe Jack.
Oh yeah.
And it was Pops, Kobe Jack, and Dawn Davis in a triple threat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he chopped like Chris's chest was like. I'm like, oh wow, and then feeling it, like me feeling it myself. I'm like, okay, he don't play. So when I saw Joey Venom hit that backflip, I'm like, okay, I gotta do it. So I went up there. I just busted. Right. And ever since then, it was like, I was able to do backflips. So a lot of the stuff that I do, or like the athleticism, Dex brought that out of me.
Okay.
So he was all like at practice, he was very hands-on with me a lot because he saw that I wanted it more.
Yep.
So we had that connection off that. So when we did the idea for Little Dex, and like at the time, you know, we both had that. Like I didn't have dreads at the time; I had the afro, and he had his little mohawk thing going on. So it was like, all we gotta do is put Zae on the headband, and the only thing I lacked was the height and the tattoos and the size. But
I think we just didn't have time to make that. Otherwise, they probably would have.
Yeah, I mean, like if we would pull that off, we probably could have pulled that off. Now if I was just starting, but so the Little Dex character, we did that, and it was cool. I got like, you know, the fans latched on to that, but once time progressed, it was like, okay, now we have to move Zae away from Little Dex. Yeah. So for a time period, I was struggling to figure out who I was because I was so used to Little Dex. So they turned me babyface, but I had no charisma. And I knew deep down, like, okay, I can do this. I just gotta. I was still shy at the time too. Like, I'm loud now, but like. So like there's two different sides to Zae. When I'm at home, I'm more laid back, and it's hard to believe, but if I'm more laid back, I'm more chill. I don't really like to be out. But like if I'm around a whole bunch of people, I know I'm loud and I'm outgoing. So I'm like, okay, I have to incorporate that into what I do at wrestling. So I was being thrown in scramble matches, and like I was still trying to find myself. And then I got paired with Juwan. And that's why I say, like, yeah, Dex is I look at Dex as a mentor, but I also look at Juwan as a mentor as well, because being with Juwan, I was able to find me.
You spent a lot more time with Juwan Thomas, too. Yeah. You spent maybe a month on camera with Dex Royal, but you spent close to a calendar year out there with Juwan.
Yeah, and it even like our bond got so deeper within that, like it's carrying on like outside of wrestling. Like me and Juwan to this day, he'll still hit me up like, hey, I think, like he'll give me pointers, or he'll tell me like, yeah, your match was good, you need to work on this, this, and this. Right. And like he's trying to like help me out too along the way, and it's more personal. Like, so like with that, once he put me with Juwan, and then we got Eric here, and we did the little thing. I'm like, okay, now I got it, because I'm like, now we're bad guys, we're heels. Yes. So now I can go out and be a jerk.
Yeah. Isn't that so much easier?
It was. So with me doing that, I was coming out, and like I never planned nothing. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go out and do. No, I just went out there as soon as I hit the curtain. I just did shit. Like I walked out, I'm dancing. I'm dancing, I'm being loud, I'm being obnoxious. And like for a minute, the fans were getting annoyed with it. It was like, oh my God, they called us, what they called us? It was the babysitter club or something. Yeah, they was,
When you've got the fans giving you insulting nicknames, and like that's when you know you got them.
Right.
You know, like when they care so much that they're dubbing you such and such, like that's when you know, like, right where you've got them.
Exactly, and I knew it. Like I'm like, okay, we got them now because they giving us nicknames. They're making fun of my voice, calling me Mickey Mouse. Like I was getting like, it would be times like we're not even having a show. Like I could be just at home chilling, and then I'll look and say, oh, so and so tagged you in a post, and they'll post memes and stuff. I'm like, okay, we got them.
Yep.
Well, then after so long, they started liking it because like I just kept on with it, and like during the time I was with Jawan and Eric, like I kind of saw them like cheering me and Eric, and then like they would just cheer me, and I'm like, okay, I gotta be more dickish, but like it didn't work.
Right.
It never worked. It's like
they didn't want to like you.
Yeah, like I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Or they didn't want to dislike you at that point. They didn't want to dislike you at that point.
So I'm confused. I'm like, okay, what can I do? But it was never nothing we could do because we tried everything. Like we turned on Jawan, they cheered us. We're in other matches where I'm running heat, I'm doing dirty stuff, they're still cheering. I'm like, what can I do?
Yeah.
But then I realized, like, okay, I have to take away a lot of the flippy stuff I was doing also as well, because like I saw like, okay, yeah, I'm being a douchebag, but I'm also showing all my talents and I'm liking it.
Yeah.
So I tried to take that away, but that didn't work either.
Right.
So I'm like, oh wow. So what do I do?
I'm gonna throw something out there. Just tell me what it brings up for you, Indiana Comic Con.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I think Indiana Comic Con got me to this point. I feel like I did a lot of stuff and it was good and everybody liked it, but Comic Con I felt like was the stepping stone to get me to where I am now, because I never and we had a lot of guys on the show. We had IK3, we had Blake Money Wright, we had Dex Royal, we had the Twins, we had Brody Botkins, TJ Powers. Like we had the whole roster and everybody.
And some extra people.
Yeah, Jake Oman. We had
Congo
Kong was there. We had a lot of people there, and they were like cheering. Like I was getting like loud pops. And like, oh wow, like I'm like, okay, I feel like after here I gotta keep going. Like this is like, what do I do next? So the match that really did it and that showed me that I really had it was the match where it was me and Dex versus the Twins, the last match of Comic Con, and Pops was the referee.
Yeah, that was so much.
Yeah,
that was a fun one.
It was fun, but it was emotional at the same time. Like after the show, I remember like Dex and the Twins coming up to me and they were like, you know, if you ever got any doubt in your mind that you can't do it, this should show you like you got it. And like I remember just sitting in the back and I would cry because I'm like, I never was really successful in my life with anything. Like football, I know I was good at it, but I wasn't as successful with it. I never won any awards in school, but it was like in wrestling, like having a lot of fans that like there were fans at Comic-Con that don't come here.
Yeah.
And they were like cheering.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh wow, like they're chanting my name. They're chanting like, and I know everybody else on the card felt the same way I did when they chanted their name too. So I'm like, you know, this was very something special.
That whole 3 days was everybody on the roster, your chance to be a star.
Yeah.
Because WCWO is small, local promotion. Fans may not necessarily realize that.
Right.
All they know is we're watching something that we see on TV.
Right.
And then you either
chanting names.
Yeah. You either as a wrestler you deliver or you don't.
Yeah. And a lot of guys didn't fail, but to hearing like people that had never saw you in action before chant your name, that is something that that got to me. And like at the time I was the Mississippi Bad Boy. I mean I still carry that with me now, but I feel like the Mississippi Bad Boy, that was just like a start. That was like, okay, I'm gonna start with this.
It's your first identity.
Yeah, and then it's like the Big Champ came along and it's like, okay, I try to look at it as, okay, we went from Little Dex to the Mississippi Bad Boy to now we're at Big Champ.
Yeah.
And I feel like those two, like the Mississippi Bad Boy and Little Dex, they're the reason that the Big Champ exists. Because for so long, like, everybody looked at me as, okay, now he's Little Dex. Then looked at the Mississippi Bad Boy, okay, at first I was just an annoying little kid that nobody liked, and then I became liked and everybody loved me. But at the same time, it was like, the thing with David, it kind of took his side. So now I'm like, okay, I don't need y'all. I'm the Big Champ. I'm the man. So that's where the Big Champ comes from.
Before we get to the Gunslinger title, which you are the current WCWO Gunslinger Champion, what was it like working in the storyline where it was you, Eric Onyx, Juwan Thomas, defending against Jackson Morgan? Because you guys really got creative. So you got chloroformed, thrown in the back of a truck, buried alive, came back from the dead, helped Juwan Thomas regain his. How much fun was that to do? So,
I'm not gonna lie. Those are one of the storylines within the group that I enjoyed because that allowed us to do like a lot of stuff, like a lot of creative stuff.
Yeah.
And like so what was funny when we did the chloroform and all that other stuff, I'm like, okay, you're gonna come back. I remember I was really excited about it because I'm like, okay, I never did anything like this.
Right.
So once we got put on the stretcher, I remember us getting put on the stretcher. I remember us being put in the back of the car and driven to the dang on the graveyard site.
Yeah.
And then what was so crazy? So the night that we came back, so I remember I had on these pants, and I'm like they were some really great looking pants. And I remember I was supposed to go to a party. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to get my pants messed up. So I'm like, I'm going to go out there in my underwear. And everybody everybody back there is like, bro, no, you're not. You're not going to do it. And Jawan was like, I dare you go out there and run sock too. I'm like, ooh. So I did it. And then, it got over well with the fans. Like, they really, they were shocked to see us.
But they were so mad to see you, too.
They were so pissed. They were shocked but mad because they're like, dang, we thought we got rid of them. And then they back. And then they screwed because, like they were really pulling for Jack.
People were convinced that Juwan Thomas was going to lose the title.
Yeah, because they're like, he don't have Zae, he don't have Eric. He's in the ring, it's just him and Jax.
Yeah.
There's no way Juwan is going to survive. And then out came in Eric.
Right.
And we did our thing, man. And I remember... I was like dancing. The way I was dancing, I got in a little trouble for it.
It was not family friendly.
Yeah, it was like Pop was like, Zae, you can't do that. It was like we're PG, and that was a little, my bad. But I like to look at it as Shawn Michaels throwing the company line, trying to get over
early 2023. WCWO splits the rosters in half, 2 separate shows. One GM's running one GM's running the other.
Right.
You get put on the roster of the show, of the GM that fans just absolutely hate.
Right.
But you get put into a position of being one of the top baby faces.
Yeah.
What was that transition like? And that, I feel like, really started your road to the Gunslinger Championship. Because you feuded with Jordan James during that time.
Yeah. So I was nervous, I'm not gonna lie, because when you're put in a position to where, the company looks at you and like, okay, I think you got what it takes. But you're looking at yourself as okay, how can I live up to the expectations of, the guys that were before me and some of the guys I look up to, how can I live up to the expectations of a Jordan James? How can I live up to the expectations of a Dex Roy, of a Juwan Thomas, of a Blake Money Wright? We've had so many guys that came in and they were they were top guys of the company. So now it's okay, now the ball is on me to be just like that. And I'm not gonna lie, it was times where I thought I was gonna sink. I'm like, I don't think, I feel like, okay, yeah, the fans are gonna love me for a couple weeks, but after so long they're gonna get bored with me. But that ain't happening.
No,
so
it didn't. In fact, they latched onto you like a leech.
They did.
It was red hot.
Yeah.
You were one of the hottest wrestlers on that show.
Yeah.
What was that like for you, realizing that not only is the company kind of getting behind me, a year ago at this time, they hated me, and now the fans love me.
It was I'm not gonna lie, it was bittersweet, and I say bittersweet because the bitter part was because it was, I wouldn't say it's a tough position to be in, but like when the company is like believing in you and trying to build you up to be something, and if you want to show them that you can do it, and you want them to, if you want to show them that they made the right decision, you have to succeed. Like you gotta really just pass the test.
Right.
So it was just like, okay, I know I'm a good wrestler. I know what I can do in the ring. But it's like, with me, it was more so of a thing where, can I keep it going? Can I be that guy? So it was tough, but I loved it at the same time, and I felt like everything that I had worked hard for, everything that I was taught was paying off.
And not only did you rise to the occasion, what was the moment like when you found out that you're going to win the Gunslinger Championship? Logan Myers had that.
Yeah.
Juwan Thomas had that. Dalton Davis had that.
Yeah.
So many people on the roster had that title that led to them moving up even more. And now here it is, you're winning that title against one of the top heels in the company in front of a sold-out, packed crowd.
Yeah.
And it was honestly like one of the hottest rivalries and stories on that show.
Yeah. So
What was that moment like?
What was crazy was I didn't know I was winning the Gunslinger.
Really?
No, yeah. So
no one told you?
Nobody told me. So me and Jordan
Why would
James,
they do that?
I don't know. That's the thing. So me and Jordan James had wrestled like twice, and he beat me.
Yeah.
So the third time they were like, okay, I'm thinking this is gonna be the same thing. Like nobody told me that, hey, you're winning the Gunslinger tonight. None of that. So we had everything, what we're gonna do, all that. We get out there, and I hit the frog splash. And Juwan, like what we talked about was Juwan's supposed to kick out. I was supposed to be shocked. I was supposed to go for something that's gonna mess me up.
Jordan was.
Yeah. And he told me he was turning heel. So I'm like, okay, oh shit. Okay, I'm like, all right, bet. So I'm cool. Like, I understand. It's business. So I hit the frog splash, boom. And what was so sentimental was Mike Lee was the ref. And
Yes.
me and Mike Lee, we are very like, he's like one of my wrestling dads as well, because a well-known fact that nobody knows, when I first started in the business, Mike Lee brought me my very first pair of wrestling shoes.
Really?
Yeah, I came in some like yellow Jordans. And
I think I remember that.
yeah, and he was like, what size shoes do you wear? And I told him I didn't think nothing of it, because nobody ever done anything like that for me, so I didn't think nothing of it. So the following practice, I come and he opens up a pair of shoes. I'm like, oh wow. And you know, so him being the ref, it was kind of like it was an emotional moment for me as well. Like, I never thought I would cry about, success. I thought I would be excited, but like, so I hit the frog splash, I pinned, and Jordan was like, congrats, Bubba, you just won your first title. I'm like, what? And he hit 3. I'm like, what?
That was a real reaction.
Yeah.
I was at a concert watching it live.
Yeah,
and I was like, wow, that's really, man, he sold that. Okay, that makes more sense
reaction.
now. Okay,
I'm like,
okay.
oh my God, like, I'm really a champion. And like, I remember sitting there and my mouth was open wide, and then like I just started crying. So I'm like, bro, like everything I worked hard for, everything I've overcame in my personal life is just like, I'm finally getting something out of all the stuff I went through. Yeah. And I just broke down into tears, and I was excited. I'm like, okay, now this point on, I have to keep going. Like, there is no shortcuts, none of that. So I was excited, man, and I cried. I came to the back, I gave Pops a hug, and I thanked them, because I'm like, now you're believing in me. Like all of this is really paying off for real. And like, I hugged Mike Lee too, because like, you
circle.
Yeah, it was like a full circle moment. Like, you bought me my first pair of wrestling shoes, and now here we are. You officiated my first, not my first championship match, but like my first championship win. Yeah. So yeah, I cried.
I mean, the GM of that show definitely made it almost impossible for you to win that show. A very good-looking, talented GM. Anyway, that was.
Will you go ahead and put that back on?
What are we putting on? This?
Yeah, flip it up.
It's off? Oh.
Yeah.
We good?
We're good.
All right. We're backstage at a wrestling show. Anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen.
That win was in May of 2023.
Right.
At the time of this recording, it is January 2024.
Yeah.
You've had that belt for 8 months.
Yeah.
You've wrestled everybody.
I have.
You would think winning that belt with Mike Lee reffing, Jordan James, Top Hill and company, losing the match, you winning, doesn't end there.
Yeah.
Michael Elgin.
Oh.
One-on-one.
Yeah.
End of 2023.
Yeah.
How nervous were you going into that match? You've been watching him.
Yeah. Since I was in middle school. Yeah.
Since you were a very much younger child.
Yeah.
You know. But
I was like 14.
Right. That wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't like 6 years ago.
I hate this. Anyway, you're watching him since you were a kid. I mean, for one, having guys in this locker room, TJ Powers,
Yeah.
Mark House, Michael Elgin, Joey Owens, having those 4 pieces of knowledge and experience in the same locker room as you, how has that helped you?
It really helped me out a lot, and I feel like without the knowledge of those 4 guys alone, like I wouldn't be where I am right now. And I give them all the credit. It's like I give Pops majority. Joey Owens, for y'all who don't know who Pops is, I give him majority of the credit because he's been here through every step of the way. Like from the time I walked in to even to this point now, he's been here. Even in my personal life, he's been there for me. And that's why no matter what goes on, like my loyalty will always lie with the dub. No matter if right or wrong, because when I was in messed up predicaments, y'all helped me out through every step of the way. So I give him a lot of the credit. I give TJ Powers credit too because every time I put out a promo, every time I do something, he comes up to me and was like, "Great job, you did great." Like he actually takes the time out of his day to watch and pay attention because he could be doing anything else with his time, and he chooses to, watch and tell me what I can work on and stuff like that. Mark House, I give him credit a lot too because since the first day I met him, he's just been teaching me everything. Like he's been telling me, "Hey, I think this will work. Try this, and everything he's told me has worked.
Yep, and it's rare to have somebody. I mean, it's sad as to say, it's hard to have. It's rare to see a veteran walk up to you after your match and say, "Hey, come here," and actually have
notes.
handwritten notes.
Like on his phone. Like our first encounter, I don't think it was a, "Hey, I'm Zae, how you doing?" or "Hi, I'm Mark," because he came in during the show. So our first encounter was I hit a movie. He was like, "Hi, I'm Mark. Let me give you some pointers." I'm like, "Okay." So I listened because I love to listen. I love to be a sponge. I love to learn new stuff, especially when it comes to wrestling because I want to succeed. So no matter how big I get, like I can get signed to the biggest contract ever. If a vet pulls me aside and gives me pointers, I'm going to take it because you can never, there's nothing that you cannot learn. You're always learning something. So I appreciate Mark for that as well because he didn't know me. Like he never came in for a practice session. He never met me outside of a show, and for him to take the time out of his day to do that as well. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate him for that. And for Michael Elgin, it's been like since we met in person, he's been nothing but genuine, nothing but kind-hearted. Like, I remember our first encounter, the first time we met, he was actually coming in for a show. So I'm not trying to expose too much, but he kind of stayed at the apartment for a weekend, and that whole weekend he was just teaching me and just telling me a lot of stuff, even with personal, because we were both going through personal issues at the same time as he was going through stuff and he was fighting his
very well documented with him.
He was going through that, and I was going through something at a personal time too, with same kind of sort of same situation. The only difference was he was married and I wasn't. So. And I just asked him, how do I go about this? What do I do? Because I'm in a predicament where my back is up against the wall for absolutely nothing. And he just told me, we had a man-to-man talking. He just told me the best way to go about it. And so he helped me out with that. And then, with wrestling, he's always, he even texts me. He'll text me, hey, I have an idea, you should do this. He's also, and even after our match, he kept on, keeps on and he keeps on and keeps on. And when I found out that I was wrestling Elgin, I knew okay, this is any other match I've had with IK3, it was a test, it was either sink or swim. Dex Royal, sink or swim.
They're not going to take it easy on you.
JKO, sink or swim. Like I've even wrestled Congo Kong.
Yeah.
Like I've wrestled Corey Calhoun. Like
Yeah.
I've wrestled some guys, but like Michael Elgin was different because like this is a man who's actually like Congo Kong. He's been to the big leagues as well.
But
Corey Calhoun, he has.
But
JKO has in his days.
But Michael's been to Wrestle
Yeah,
Kingdom.
Wrestle Kingdom. He's won like
He was the Ring
of Honor World Champion. Yeah.
He's wrestled Kenny Omega. Like
Jay Briscoe.
Yeah.
Like he's wrestled some guys, and it was like the very first match I watched with Michael Elgin was him versus Kenny Omega in the G1 Climax.
Yeah.
So I'm like, bro, like to actually be in the ring with him.
Oh, have them in your apartment.
Yeah, like it was, and I told him that. Like when he was at my house, I'm like, bro, like I never would have imagined.
This was not on your
2023
2023 bingo card
Yeah,
at all.
like bro, I never would have imagined like being a pro wrestler is one thing, but to have a guy of that stature be in your apartment, you going out to eat with them, like he's giving you like we are at practice, he's giving me like there are moves that I do that he gave like ideas that came from him.
That's amazing.
So I'm like, bro, like it was a full circle moment with that as well, and like being in the ring with them and us actually pulling off a great match. Like
while you were sick.
Yeah, I was sick. Yeah, I had just got sick too, but I'm like, I cannot let the company down.
Right.
I cannot just phone it in because I'm sick. I'm the Gunslinger Champion.
And when else are you going to be able to wrestle Michael Elgin?
Exactly.
You know, and it went so well.
Yeah.
That at the time of this recording, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
It may have already happened. We don't know. Pretty sure it won't yet. I don't know when this is up.
Yeah.
What date is it, guys? I don't know.
Yeah.
Triple threat coming up.
Yeah.
With you, David Light, Michael Elgin.
Yeah.
You've been in some multi matches with David, who's just a prodigy.
Yeah,
he's
is
amazing.
As much as I don't like him, he's really he's really
like IK3, David, TJ Powers, you on Black Friday. Now you got Michael Elgin and TJ and David Light in a triple threat. The fact that it went that well and somebody like him sees that much in you, that like. I'm in a group chat with you and him about ID. Like it's insane. Like, what does that mean to you? The fact that 2024, there's a very good chance you could have had that championship for a year by the time you lose it. You're the first person to main event with the Gunslinger Championship. You're the perfect example of the person makes the championship doesn't make the person.
Thank you. I really appreciate that compliment. But it means a lot. Like being like with Michael Elgin, we'll go back to that first. Since day one, like even before our match, he's been like he'll be on social media, somebody will ask like what's upcoming talent you think is, and he'll name off all the guys, and one of the names is me. It's David Light, Tardari. Like he named Malenko, like and then like for him to want the match against me, we have the match, and for him to want to go again, that tells me like, okay, I did something right. He really does see something in me. It's not just word, like it's his actions behind it. So that means a lot because, like I said, I watched him as a kid in high school when I was supposed to be doing a project in history class. I'm sitting there watching Elgin matches. So I'm like, bro, like that's bitter. Well, not bittersweet. That is one of the things that I really cherish within this business and in my life because I never would imagine nothing like that. As far as the Gunslinger Champion, like, what's crazy was I've always said, like, my goal from day one, I'm like, if I ever win because I remember when we brought it in. Yeah. And, I'm like, if I ever win that, it was. I'm like, if I ever win that title, like, I want to elevate that title because I've heard a lot of people say, like, whoever's territory champ, oh, you have the curtain jerker title. Oh, my title's better than yours, the world champ. Like, I've heard that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this title mean something. And for me to be able to main event with it, like, multiple times, and, like, holding it for as long as I've had, and wrestling, like, the caliber of matches I've wrestled as champion, like, nobody before me, and I'm not discrediting anybody, because all the past Gunslinger champions was great. But, like, nobody wrestled IK3, TJ Powers, and Dave Light in a Fatal 4-Way. Nobody main evented against anybody for the title. Nobody defended the title against Michael Elgin. Like, and then we have a show tonight. Nobody's defended it against Mark House. Like, I feel I'm really proud of myself. Like, I'm really proud of how far I've came, and I really appreciate like the company. Like, I really appreciate you guys for like really trusting me with that. Like, because y'all didn't have to. Y'all could have put the title on anybody else.
Right.
But y'all, like, to give me that opportunity, like that really means something to me. And for me to be able to hold it this long, and like, I don't know who's like, there's guys who's probably held championships here longer than I have.
Sure.
And to break that record would be nice.
Right.
But like, if I didn't, you know what I'm saying, I'm still appreciative for how long I've held the title so far. Like,
yeah. So you've wrestled all of these guys already. Less than 4 years in.
Yeah.
You've wrestled matches in front of Devon Dudley, Rikishi, and Buff Bagwell.
Yeah.
You
Gabe Sapolsky.
Multiple people on a higher level have watched you work or worked with you.
Yeah.
What's 2024 look like for you? Because 23 was your career year.
Yeah.
I told you in a message that you remind me of Swerve, to where you didn't necessarily get the opportunities, but people knew who you were.
Right.
And then you broke out on your own, got the opportunity, took it, and ran with it, and made it fucking count.
Yeah.
You know? You're the breakout wrestler of 2023 in WCWO and other promotions as well.
Yeah, Warrior Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, I won.
Yeah.
I don't know if they didn't announce
Be
it
that
yet, but-
dastardly Jesse Winchester.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
won
Yeah.
Superstar of the Year for Warrior, and me and Jesse, I think we almost won Match of the Year.
And you didn't even wrestle there for the full year.
I didn't.
Either.
I only wrestled there like 4 or 5 times, and still like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, like this is
Yes.
crazy. So
you were Hoosier Wrestling Alliance's
wrestler
to watch. You know,
yeah.
like, people are taking notice.
Yeah.
And 2023 was your breakout year.
It was.
So how do you keep that momentum, build on it, surpass it, and keep going in 2024?
I really feel like, with this year, this is a year where I really gotta lock in. Like, if I wanna make it, and if I wanna like be a big star, I have to lock in. This is something I have to do because, I pay attention to a lot of other wrestlers on the indies. You know what I'm saying? I'm not discrediting anybody, but I feel like I'm more different from them.
Yep.
Because I'm actually like the way I was trained, like, I've been taught old school, but I mixed the old school with the new school, and on top of that, like, character. Like, I feel like character is the number one asset to make it.
Yep.
Because like, the moves don't really matter.
Yeah.
It's not about, because the moves are cool, but nobody really pays attention to that. It's
People
really
aren't
about
going to connect with the moves.
Yeah.
They connect with your personality, the
Yeah.
character, and the story.
And that's why I try to work on my character a lot. And like, I've been in the locker rooms with the Pope Elijah Burke multiple times.
Yes, yeah.
And I remember the last time I was in the locker room with them, and what's so crazy, like, and at that time I was still not confident in myself 100%, but
that was one of the shows you worked Congo Kong on, I think.
Yeah, because I think the one night I worked Congo Kong, and then the next night I worked Isaiah Zane. He's one of Pope's kids.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
me and Eric and him in the triple threat. And at the time, I was still M2P, but like they just
You were
split us
starting
up
to
for
transition a little bit.
Yeah,
though.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember with me being the triple threat with Eric and Isaiah Zane, I remember specifically Pope's pulled me to the side, and like we were talking, and he was basically asking like, where I trained at, and one of the things that I look at as like, okay, he believes in me too. He pulled me to the side. He was like, I wish I would have got my hands on you and was able to train you before you started.
Yeah.
Because he was like, you have potential to make it. And I was like, wow, like, Elijah Burke, like, this man has been signed to WWE. He was Vince McMahon's chosen guy in ECW. And like,
he's in NWA.
yeah, NWA, he held their title. He was in TNA.
Yeah.
And I remember like watching TNA, and like he was like, Don West is a great commentator, but Elijah Pope was fantastic. So it was just like, I remember playing WWE SmackDown versus Raw and using Elijah Burke. So it's just like, to have guys like that pull me aside and talk to me and tell me like, hey, you have the potential, that means something to me. So I always take stuff like that, and I always like try to be better and try to, because I know 2024, this is the year that I really got to crank it up. And like, I have other wrestling friends who wrestle in other states that has never been here. And one of my friends, she tells me a lot. Like, she's really hands-on with me as well. Like, she's only been doing it 2 years, but she's been more places than I have, so she knows.
Yeah.
And she's been to OVW. She's been places, and she's honest with me. If something sucks, she'll tell me, "Hey,
Right.
that sucks." If something is good, she'll tell me it's good.
Yeah.
So like, I try to
awesome.
surround myself with people that can teach me stuff.
Well, there's a lot more to talk about this time than the first time I interviewed you in January, December of 2021 or 22.
Yeah, I think so.
That was during a blizzard when the WCWO show was canceled.
I remember that.
There's been a lot more to talk about. To see your progression from the early days of Little Dex Royal, where you were inserted into a match to help build, somebody's on-screen character ego, to the longest reigning Gunslinger Champion of all time. To see the progression, to see where you go from here is going to be really cool. Thanks for making this happen and for doing this before the show.
Yeah.
And kick ass tonight, man.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
All right, man, we'll see you.
Thank you for having me.
You got it.